The ANC Youth League has been criticized for sending members to Ukraine as observers in the referendum conducted by Russia. The West has widely condemned the referendum in 4 eastern and southern Ukraine provinces on Russia's border. It is deemed illegal and a sham exercise to legitimize Russia's military occupation and intention to annex the territories. Well, to help us unpack this, I'm joined by the ANC Youth League's Khulekani Skhosana. Khulekani, good morning and thank you for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Now, a very interesting time you guys have had in the Ukraine. I know that back home you would have seen the reports. It raised quite a lot of eyebrows, many trying to understand your presence there in those particular territories that have been occupied by Russia. Can you give us the reasoning behind the decision to go to the Ukraine?
The ANC Youth League is an autonomous organization. Yes, we are bound by the rules and constitution of the African National Congress. But in the ANC, we are allowed and given room to go on fact-finding missions so that we understand the world by our own eyes. We are not spoon-fed narratives and we are not told how to think. We're allowed to be critical in terms of how the world functions. We went there as per invitation by the Russian government to go and observe the referendum. And we did not go there to render support to the Russian government or render support to the referendum. What we did go to do is to observe whether the people who are in Donbass have been given an opportunity to express themselves, because we feel that more often than not, elites, political elites, they tend to want to speak on behalf of the people. For us, it's very important that we hear from the people themselves. So we went there on the ground to actually hear their views on how they want things to turn out. And what we found, shockingly, is that the Ukraine regime is bombarding refugee camps. I don't understand that. I think if they are fighting Russia or trying to get rid of Russia, they should focus on military installations. What we found there is that Kyiv is responsible for killing Ukrainian citizens purely because they speak Russian. And this has been happening since 2014. And the world has not been speaking about it. And we know that the revolution does not get televised. So it's important for us to actually hear from the people themselves. As victims of oppression, we are in solidarity with all the oppressed people of the world, in Cuba, Palestine, and Western Sahara.
But when it comes to Russia, they have spoken about that some within the border were being, at least according to them, victimized. So that's why there would be the need to perhaps seize this territory. But if we look broadly, we've seen other reports that it was said that 90% took part in this referendum, but then some say no, there were many that in fact boycotted the referendum. What did you establish when you got there?
We established that the citizens were participating freely and fairly. If anything was threatening the people there, is the shelling that came from Kyiv. And we think that if Kyiv purports itself to believe in democracy, then they should have allowed the people without sabotage to express themselves. But instead, they've been attacking those people since 2014 up until now. There's no one who can live with bombings for almost 10 years.
But when we say it was freely and fairly, I mean, as an ordinary citizen, I was back here in South Africa, but one assumes it would be rather difficult to express your honest position if the military of Russia has seized the territory. If I'm going now to vote in a referendum, but there are soldiers next to me, would I really be able to express my view? At least that's what citizens who were back home would have assumed, that it wouldn't necessarily be the most free environment.
Seize is the wrong terminology. I think liberate is the correct terminology. Look, Ukraine used to be part of the Soviet Union. And as a result of declaring its independence, there are Russian minorities in these 4 regions, right? They have progressively persecuted these minorities, killing them, killing their language, killing their culture, and imposing their way of life on those people. Those people are not being seized. That territory is not being seized. They are being liberated. They identify...
The minority,
yes, they identify as Russian. They say, we have always been telling these people that we want to be Russian, but we are okay to be Russian in Ukraine. However, Ukraine is not okay with us being Russian minorities in Ukraine. So after 10 years, the Russian Federation honestly could not just watch people being killed. And we laud President Putin and the Russian Federation for actually being able to take even sanctions at the behest of defending the defenseless. Yes.
But you know, when you say that you went there as impartial observers, then it becomes a bit difficult for the ordinary person if it was on invitation. of the Russian government, one then wonders, or at least I'm sure you would appreciate that one would wonder, that in that instance, are you really that impartial if the trip, I assume, then would have been funded by those who invited you, correct?
No. In terms of funding, we account in correct places in the ANC. I mean, there's something called Party Funding Act. I don't think TV is the correct platform for me to speak about fundings of trips. I think we account in correct platforms. However, the invitation coming from the Russian government...
But it would be something that would be public. If maybe you're saying it still needs to be accounted for first in the party, but nevertheless, party funding becomes something that we, the public, get to see. That was the whole purpose of transparency.
Sure, and you will find out through those channels, not here on television.
It's fair enough.
We will report, and then once the report comes out through the Treasurer General, you can get it from there, not here.
All right. Yeah. So, first instance, you're saying, at the very least, it was not funding from those that invited you. You just received an invitation from them to go there.
Just like any other political organization or NGO, it's not a phenomenon. This happens. Political organizations go and observe referendums and elections. The only problem here is that we went to observe in Donbass. People don't also say that we've went to Tindouf, we've went to Palestine. And I want to say that it's very cheap of the Democratic Alliance to come here and want to say that we are using state resources, whatever. When they sent Solim Simang to Taipei and contravened the laws of our country, South Africa has officially recognized the One China policy. Now, if anyone is contravening the laws of our country, it is the Democratic Alliance. And for us to go to Donbass, it does not mean support for Russia. It means we went there to observe.
On a fact-finding mission, similar to what they went to do.
And if we are invited by the Ukraine government or the Ukraine people to come and observe on their perspective, we will go. But what we will not be doing is to be spoon-fed a narrative that because CNN says this, then we must just swallow it. I think that time for white people or apartheid apologists who think they can tell us what to do in 2022, it has come and gone. We are the generation that is inspired by Solomon Mahlangu. And for that, it means we must take an initiative of going to find out for ourselves what is happening in the world, especially because it affects us. The prices have gone up because of this particular conflict. So we can't just close our eyes and not want to be concerned. And we are people who are gearing up to take this country somewhere. And if we're going to do that, we need to understand what's happening in the world. And it's not a crime for us to do that. And we are not going to apologize, especially not to John.
And then let's bring it now to energy. We've got a crisis in the country. Many are at least expressing their view on what should happen with Eskom. What is the Youth League's position on the matters pertaining to Eskom? They've changed. They've put in a new board. Do you believe that this board will get us to where we need to be insofar as energy security is concerned?
Look, as the African National Congress Youth League, we are not happy with the energy crisis that has engulfed our country. We think that we have so many brilliant minds. What is the point of sending all of us to university with NEFSAs if you cannot embrace the solutions that we are willing to offer? It is in the same manner when we dealt with free education. Young people are here, we offer solutions on the table. And we are saying that there are young, brilliant engineers and energy experts who have been produced by the South African education system. They must be given room to exercise these skills and talent. What we don't want anymore is old people killing our infrastructure. We think that young people must be allowed to contribute in solutions. Currently,
but you would have heard Minister Mantashe saying that they have given an opportunity to younger people, but it seems the experience is still much needed, that some of them would have been in those roles for 2 years. So meaning beyond the theory, you need to practice over a longer period, be given that opportunity to train for longer, for you to become a trusted hand within Eskom.
Look, you know, there is a retirement age in South Africa. I think that our leaders need to embrace the fact that they were given space to lead when they were young. And today they are being unfair to us because they say we want to lead because we want money. It means they were leading because they want. We don't want to lead because we want money. We want to lead because Solomon Mahlangu said to us, his blood will nourish the tree that will bear the fruits of freedom. Now, we are ready to take the baton, and we respect the wisdom of our elders, but also they must respect our innovative ideas and the fact that our imagination is fresh. So we must fuse the two. We need the wisdom of our elders, but we also need the creativity and new ideas of young people. Currently, we only have the wisdom of elders. So we need some of our elders to go and take care of their grandchildren. They fought, they've done very well for us. South Africa is a beautiful place because of the sacrifices they've made. But now, they must give us an opportunity to fight for the next generation.
Kulegane, thank you very much for your time this morning. That's the Youth League's Kulegane Skhosana giving us clarity on their presence in the Ukraine and also just sharing light or giving their views on the Eskom crisis. More news on the